everyone, so I'm back today with my first layout using my How to Color Kit with Style for March. I'm going to be working with some of this beautiful paper from Gingham Gardens. I'm going to use the those two pattern papers, a sheet of cream colored cardstock, and these stamps. So there isn't a lot of flowers in this particular collection. Well, let me back up here. I wanted to match the colors that are in the collection onto these flowers. I'm going to mask and stamp a whole bunch of these little bamboo roses. I'm going to be using Coral Cabana and Bellini ink from Catherine Pooler. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of both of these colors onto the rose portion of the flowers. And you can see there how I have the leaves masked off. So I'm just adding a little bit of both. It'll give it a nice multicolored look to my stamping, except I forgot to take the masking off. So, oops. I am only going to stamp one of these flowers on camera, and it's not going to be good. I'll tell you that right now, because my Misty is so big, and you can see like the stamp is small. It's at an awkward part of my mat, but I didn't want to move it because I'm going to be stamping twice, and so I had to move my Misty so you could see where the stamp was and what I'm doing with this stamp. And so this particular first flower didn't turn out that great, but that's okay because the rest of them turned out fabulous after I kind of shut the camera on and just stamped the rest of them. So I'm going to stamp, I think I stamped 13 or 14 roses this way, and then I fussy cut all of them. So see how you can't even see what I'm doing. So I've just moved the washi tape and got, well, cleaned the washi, masked off the rose part of the stamp with the washi tape. I'm going to ink up the leaves now with the fresh leaf green and then stamp it again. So then we have two-toned green. Did free range some of the leaves depending on how the stamp was oriented. It was easier than masking just to stamp the leaves. So this particular one worked well. And you can see there so I ended up with these flowers that are two-toned and with the green leaves. Okay, now for this kit, we are going to do some serious paper conservation because I only have 6 sheets of pattern paper, and if you know me, that's really not enough for 4 layouts. I could probably put 6 sheets of pattern paper on one layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my cut-a-line guide. This is from my sweet Petunia who makes the Misty. I'm going to use a pen blade and I'm going to gut this paper. So this is how I gut my paper. You can see there, it works kind of. No, the cut-a-line guide really works well. I just washi tape it down to my pattern paper and it works very well. This is how I gut paper when I want to gut it because as a lot of you know, my paper trimmer is a guillotine. A trimmer, which I wouldn't trade for the world, and that just allows me to have the ability to get paper. So I use those cut-a-line guides from my sweet Petunia. So I'm going to create my background piece. I'm going to use that floral paper as a border, and then I'm going to go ahead and use cream paper. I'm going to cut it down to 11 by 11. I'm going to use some double-sided sticky tape to get it centered well on my layout. And then I'm also going to matte everything ink the edges of everything with Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. I am umming a lot today. Wow. Sorry about that. I don't know. Some days are better than others with regard to voicing over videos. Okay. So oxide ink, vintage photo, ink the edges, add the cream paper to the top of over the frame with double-sided tape. And now we can get to work on the rest of the layout. Don't forget, I am using sketches as a jumping off point for all of these How to Kill a Kit with Style videos. If you go back to the March Kill a Kit share, you'll see the sketches that I chose. I think I have 3 sketches, and then the third one's going to be using the cut file. Okay, more paper conservation. So I want to use the stripy side for some of the banners on this particular layout, but I also need to conserve a good chunk of those florals so I can fussy cut them for future layouts. So I'm cutting this at 5 inches, which will give me 7 inches of florals to fussy cut, and it gives me a little bit of the striped paper to use on this layout as well. So I'm actually going to take that 5 inches, cut it in half, and then I'm going to take the floral paper that I gutted, the piece that I gutted, I'm going to take that and I'm going to back my photo with it, and I'm going to give it a nice thick border because I want you to be able to see the pattern that's on that pattern paper. It's like a black and white plus signs, and I really wanted to make sure that I had a nice chunky border around. So I'm going to put that there, and then that gives me just a little bit of that paper. I'm going to put it off to the side. We are not throwing away scraps. We need all of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and ink those edges of that flower, and then I'm going to trim down these 2 patterns, and they're going to become banners. But I'm going to trim them down carefully. Same reason, because I need all of those scraps. So I'm using math to get them all organized the way I want them. I'm going to go ahead and create these 2 blocks. These are going to be banners for my layout. And then I'm actually going to take that one more scrap of stripy paper later on, and I'm going to still use it. I'm going to just fishtail these pieces into banners. I'm going to ink them up, and we're going to get them placed on the layout. And so that's going to be part of the main bulk of our layout right here. Now the rest of what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 more very small banners using that stripy paper, and I'm going to create a diagonal design with the banners. So I'm using that tiny little piece of scrap paper. That is not scrap paper because there are no scraps in this layout. There are no scraps in this kit. None at all. We will not be wasting any paper. So I know I have a couple subscribers that are always asking me, like, how can you use that whole sheet of paper and not gut it? Well, this is the kit for you. And I'm going to use a little bit of this floral paper. I'm going to create a couple more banners, and I'm going to create 2 more areas of embellishment. And now it's time to add the flowers. See how pretty they turned out? And since I took the colors from the collection, I knew that they would just kind of match and go really, really well. So I'm tucking all these flowers in and around different areas, and then I'm going to pull some of these Scrap and Happy Studio epoxy flare. I'm super proud of myself. I ended up getting 5 pieces of epoxy flare on this layout. I have an epoxy flare addiction. I tend to buy it a lot and then not and then I have lots of it. So I made myself a promise I wouldn't buy any more till I had used a couple packages of the epoxy flare. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to get a whole pack up on here just because the way that these are designed. The epoxy flare worked really well on this layout design because it just added that little bit of something that wasn't paper to my layout. And the plaid ones matched the photo really well. So it worked out. I really am happy with how that turned out. So I got these 2 pieces of ephemera from the kit, and I'm going to place them right there. Just add a little bit of something beside my photo. I'm going to go ahead now and just start to glue everything down. Yes, some of those flowers were cut very, very fiddly. So I needed to be really careful with them just because they were very delicate once I fussy cut them out. And that was the only one I tore, was that one rose, and I was able to kind of tuck the leaf back in, and it was totally fine. So I'm going to continue on here and add all the flowers down, glue everything down. If you've never used epoxy flare before, the store that I get mine at is called Scrap and Happy Studio. They are on Etsy. And you just put them down using tape runner. Don't use wet glue. It's not a good option for these. You really just want to use some dry adhesive, some tape runner. I'm definitely going to pop up some of these adorable little flowers to give my layout a bit more dimension and cast those pretty shadows across this large border across the middle. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add little cameras, the wood veneer cameras, to each set. So there's one camera at the top, one camera at the bottom, and then I put, I think, 3 across the middle of that page. Now I'm adding my title, which is going to be Not a Good Morning. I'm working really, really hard to use up these gold foil thickers. I love the font, I love the color, but they are not sticky at all, and they're starting to like fall off the backing paper, so I want to use as many of them as I can. I'm adding a handwritten date to my layout, and I'm going to look here and see if I want anything else. I end up pulling just 2 tiny little stickers off of the sticker sheet just to add a little bit of the kind of flowers and things on to my layout, but not a lot, just 2 little stickers. And so that's going to complete this particular layout. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to Christina for allowing me to play with this gorgeous collection this month. Be sure to head over to her shop. You can always use my code SarahScraps, all one word, all uppercase, to be able to get a little bit of a discount off of your order. She has lots of fun goodies in her shop. I will see you all again soon. Bye.